Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to prepare birria in the InstaPot. Preparing it in the InstaPot, you can enjoy your birria in as little as 2 hours. To get started with the recipe, we're going to heat up a small amount of your preferred cooking oil over medium heat. We're going to lightly fry 8 chile guajillos. These I already removed the stems and the seeds, along with 2 to 3 chile anchos. These are fairly large, so I'm only going to use 2. And about 12 to 15 chiles de arbol. The chiles de arbol are completely optional. You can leave them out completely, or you can add more or less depending on how spicy you want the birria to be. Add the peppers into the pan and lightly fry them with frequent movement for about 1 to 2 minutes. If we were making the birria the traditional way, we would add 1 onion and an entire head of garlic into the pot and boil it with the meat. But since we're making it in the InstaPot, we're going to cut the onion into fourths and we're going to peel an entire head of garlic. That may seem like a lot of garlic, but it's really going to add a lot of flavor to the birria. Add it into the pan and lightly fry them with the peppers for about 1 to 2 minutes with frequent movement. You can also boil the peppers until they're lightly soft, but lightly frying them is going to enhance the flavor of the peppers and it's going to make your birria a lot more flavorful. Once they're lightly fragrant and the onion is lightly caramelized, we're going to add 1 cup of water or beef broth. Bring to a simmer, turn off the burner, and cover for 15 minutes. This is going to help to soften up the peppers. And while we wait for the peppers, we're going to cut 5 to 6 pounds of chuck roast. To help the meat cook faster, we're going to cut the chuck roast into 3 to 4 inch pieces. And to add more flavor to the birria, we're also going to add 1 beef shank. Or you can also use short ribs. And to season the meat, we're going to make a mixture of salt and pepper. And we're going to generously season both sides of the meat with salt and pepper, including the beef shank, or short ribs if you're using short ribs. Once the meat is generously seasoned, we're going to turn on the InstaPot to manual, and we're going to melt 2 tablespoons of manteca, or your preferred cooking oil. Once the manteca is completely melted, we're going to add a few pieces at a time, and we're going to sear each piece of the meat for about a minute on each side. And while my husband is finishing up with the meat, we're going to prepare the sauce. By this time, the peppers have softened up quite a bit. Now that they're nice and pliable, we're going to transfer all the peppers to the blender, including the onion, the garlic, and the little bit of broth that we added into the pan. We're also going to add a few other ingredients, including 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of Mexican oregano, 1 teaspoon of peppercorns, 1 teaspoon of coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, or half a stick of cinnamon. And to help blend the ingredients, we're going to add 2 cups of beef broth or water. Blend the ingredients for about 1 to 2 minutes or more depending on your blender, or until it has a nice smooth consistency. When adding the sauce into the InstaPot, you can choose to strain it in or you can add it directly into the pot. This step is completely up to you. You can strain it in, but it does take a little time for it to go through the strainer. So you might have to add a little bit of broth to help the sauce go through the strainer a little bit faster. I ended up using a total of 8 cups of beef broth. You can easily just add the 4, but if you want the extra broth to prepare birria ramen, or if you want to serve the birria as a stew, you definitely want to have the extra broth. But if you're just making quesabirria tacos, you can just add the 4 cups of broth so you can have enough broth to dip the tortilla in when you prepare your quesabirria tacos. Now before we close it up, we're going to add 3 bay leaves. Then we're going to close it and make sure that it's completely sealed. We're going to set it to manual and we're going to set the timer for 15 minutes. It will take the InstaPot about 10 to 15 minutes before it builds enough pressure. Don't be too alarmed if you don't see the timer go off right away, because it will take the InstaPot about 10 to 15 minutes before it builds enough pressure. Then the timer will begin. Once the cooking process is done, release the steam from the InstaPot before removing the lid. While the meat was cooking, we went ahead and cut up some cilantro, onion, and grated some cheese to prepare some quesabirria tacos. Now we're going to remove a few pieces from the InstaPot and shred the meat to prepare the quesabirria tacos. And look how nice and tender the meat is. It's coming apart almost effortlessly. To prepare the quesabirria tacos, we're also going to need corn tortillas and your favorite melting cheese. You can use mozzarella, Monterey Jack, pepper jack, or any other melting cheese of your choice. You can also use flour tortillas if you prefer flour tortillas. Before we place the tortilla on the skillet, we're going to dip it in the broth. Then we're going to place it on the skillet over low-medium heat. You don't want the burner to be too hot, otherwise the quesabirria taco will burn. You want it to cook nice and slow so the tortilla can be nice and crispy. I usually just add the cheese, the cilantro, onion, and then the meat, but you can do it in whichever order you prefer. Once the cheese is nice and melted, we're going to fold the tortilla in half, and we're going to leave it on the skillet for about a minute or until the tortilla has a light crispiness to it. These quesabirria tacos go especially great with salsa macha. You can find the link for that recipe in the description of this video, along with all the ingredients we used to prepare this birria. And now for my favorite part, the taste test. With all the prepping and the cooking time, you can enjoy this birria in as little as 2 hours. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave me a little heart. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.